Elkezdjük a mai könyvbemutatónkat. Sok szeretettel köszöntöm az érdeklődőket, a megjelent közönséget, és nagy szeretettel köszöntöm a szerzőt és dr. Török Szabolcsot. A szerzőt dr. Török Szabolcs fogja bemutatni, és a mai könyvbemutatónk a mi ketten érzelemfókuszú párterápia munkafüzete. Át is adom a szót. A mai könyvbemutatónk angolul fog zajlani.
Welcome everyone. And welcome, Veronica.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure to greet you here in Budapest. And your book, The Two of Us, workbook for couples, just came out a couple of months ago. And since you are here in Budapest right now, giving a training for therapists about emotionally focused individual therapy.
Yes.
So we just took the opportunity to have this book launch with you. And for a short introduction, I would say that Veronica was working with Sue Johnson closely from the very beginning, I would say. So she was a student of her.
That's right.
And a colleague later on. And Veronica is also the founder of the Vancouver Family Therapy or Couple Therapy?
Couple and Family
Therapy Institute, director and founder. So you still have a very active practice, both
Absolutely.
Couples and individuals.
Yes.
So welcome in Hungary.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here and to come back to my roots, actually, because my parents were Hungarian, and it's very special to have the book translated into Hungarian for that reason.
Yes. So I need to tell that this is how I realized that you have Hungarian ancestry.
Okay.
That I had this book, the English version, The Two of Us, and at the beginning you say thank you to your parents.
That's right.
And you wrote thank you to my parents, Pista and Ági. So anyone here, I can imagine that you also immediately would have realized that that Pista and Ági cannot be
anything but Hungarian.
So this is how
Yes.
I learned that you have roots here in Hungary. So can we start with this question that how this idea to write this workbook come from?
Yeah, I think what I was noticing in my couples sessions, particularly with my couples maybe that were more distressed, was that they would really have a lovely session and they would really connect and have some beautiful moments in the session. And then when it came time for the session to end, this look of panic would come over their faces because they felt like, oh no, we have to wait another week or two before we can come and have some connecting time. And so or sometimes at the, when they were leaving the door, they had their hand on the doorknob and they would say, what should we do between now and our next session? And then I would feel a sense of panic because I didn't have something for them to do necessarily. So the book was kind of born from this idea that we wanted, Jenny Fitzgerald, my co-author, and I, we wanted to give people a safety net and some exercises and some ways of connecting little by little that really followed the therapy model, so that what they did outside of the sessions would be exactly where they were within the sessions. And it would support them through the week until they got to see, got back into their couple therapy session. Okay. So that's really how the idea was shaped, out of necessity.
Yeah, okay. So I can relate to that. So yes. I can imagine. And I understand that it's useful for those who are attending couple therapy sessions.
Yes.
But would you recommend the book to those who are just willing to work on their relationship or reflect or enrich their marriage or partner relationship?
I think the word enrich is a really good word because I think if your marriage is a fairly, good place and you want to enhance and strengthen the nice bond that you have, I think the book is really helpful for that. if you feel a lot of distress and there's a lot of conflict in your relationship, arguing, then I think probably using it with a therapist is probably the most helpful. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit of it depends, but one of the things that we have seen in the feedback about the book, it's on the reviews of Amazon, is people say, you have to really work hard to get through this book, right? This is not for the faint-hearted. And it's true, improving your marriage does take a lot of energy, does take work, it does take intentionality. And the book kind of reflects that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but what if a couple decide to really take the adventure and try to do, because it's a workbook, so you can fill out certain spaces in the book. Yes. And so what would you say, what would be a good way of using the book for those adventurous couples?
For those adventurous, well, I'll tell you what my fantasy was about how people would use the book, is that they would sit in bed together with the book open and read. Maybe one person would read a paragraph and the other person would read the next paragraph, and that they would kind of read it together. This might be very idealistic, but that was my fantasy. And then they would fill out, then they would ask each other the questions or fill them out. The book actually has 2 sets of exercises, one in the text and then one in the appendices. So you don't need to buy 2 books if you're a couple and you want to both do you both want to do the exercises. We wanted to really, that was very clear to us. We just wanted people to have to buy one book. Okay. So that was kind of my fantasy. I think if I answer it maybe more realistically, I think it's a book that you take in small chunks, right? Don't rush. No speeding through this book. Just like we don't speed through the therapy. We do it nice and slowly. We take our time with it. There's a lot of reflection time, and we really want people to take that time to reflect and not speed through the book. Mm-hmm. And so it's basically, you read a little bit, the exercises help you reflect on some aspect of your relationship, and then you share a piece with a part with each other.
And what would you say the arch or the red line of this book would be? Like the process, how could you describe the process that a couple can go through? So where do they start? What will they explore first, and then later on? So,
well, the book starts with our attachment experience and the significance of our attachment bonds, and how we feel well in the world when our attachment bonds are feeling secure and safe and loving. And so the first part of the book really sets the stage for that. Mm-hmm. And then the next part of the book starts to go into, well, what if you've had difficult attachment experiences growing up, and then it makes it hard to trust and form and maintain a relationship. And so we start to go into how patterns can form between partners when they don't feel as comfortable showing their vulnerability and their true feelings, their hurts in the relationship, or their pain in the relationship. And so we talk about the patterns of distress that can be formed, just like we do in the therapy of emotionally focused therapy. So we talk about how sometimes one partner pursues for closeness, but in ways that maybe are a bit confrontational, and then the other partner might distance themselves or get defensive, and how this can form patterns. But the patterns are really about trying to make connection, trying to make contact, trying to keep the relationship harmonious and safe. And so we get kind of what's underneath the patterns is really there's a good intention. And then we help partners break those patterns by really getting to know them well. What are the behaviors in the patterns? What are the What are the reactive feelings, the anger, the frustration, the resentment, the feelings of inadequacy, the feelings of rejection. So we actually break down those patterns very kind of in a granular way so that people can really get to be familiar with the patterns and start to break those patterns. And then the next part of the book has to do with tuning into our deeper needs with our special person. What is it we're really looking for? What is it that we're really needing to feel secure and safe with our person and emotionally connected? Is it to know, to reassurance that I'm really the one you choose? Is it to feel like I'm enough for you? Is it to feel, is it to feel like that I'm that you accept me totally, all of me, even my flaws? So we help partners tune into their fears about getting close to their partner and also their needs. And there's also a section that we added in the second edition that talks about diversity and how couples can have conversations about maybe couples that come from different cultures or other kinds of diversity. So we've included that to support couples in that conversation. And then the last chapters are really about just keeping that love connection strong. How do we keep it strong? And even into the future, like in the life cycle of a couple, starting from getting together to maybe if you have a family, starting a family together, if that's what the couple does. And as they move into retirement and as they age and become, maybe one person becomes, loses some capacities and the relationship shifts and changes through all these important life cycle transitions. So we also talk about that at the end of the book, how to stay connected.
Yeah.
Through that.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And when you work with couples, then you use emotionally focused couples therapy, or with individuals, emotionally focused individual therapy.
That's right.
What is the special value of EFT approach for you personally? So what attracted you to this model?
Well, what attracted me to the model is that my father was an engineer and my mother was a chemist. So I did not get that much experience growing up really understanding my emotional world. They were loving parents, and yet they were very cerebral. And so I didn't really understand. My emotions sort of seemed extreme to them. I think they were quite normal. But when you don't know what to do with big emotions, I think the natural thing to do is to contain them. So for me to find EFT and to get to know Sue Johnson and learn from her for so many years and discover that not only is the full range of emotions normal and healthy, it's actually healthy. And it gives you information that's so important so that you can tune into yourself and kind of know what you feel and know what you need. And that's very powerful. That's a very empowering feeling. So that's what drew me. I just felt like, oh, finally I understand myself better and I understand my relationships better.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit to the beginnings. So how did you work together with Jennifer? So you have a co-author. So
yes, I do.
You must have worked together closely.
Yes, we sure did. So I met her. We started communicating in 2005, I would say, or 2004, and she had gotten very interested in EFT through her PhD dissertation, and she invited Sue Johnson to come and do an externship in Brisbane. And Sue was in Australia, yes, thank you. And Sue was so busy it was at a conference, and she just in passing said to me, "Veronica, do you want to go to Australia? They want an externship there." And I thought, oh my goodness, like, would I love to go to Australia? And so I started going there in 2006 to teach the EFT the externship in emotionally focused therapy. Jenny and I became fast friends, and one day we were sitting on her porch on a beautiful Brisbane evening, and I mentioned to her, you know, I think it's time we have a workbook, an EFT workbook. We have other EFT books for professionals, but we don't really have an EFT workbook for couples, for clients that are going through this process. And I've been thinking about it. It's time to write one. And she said, well, can I write that with you? And I said, absolutely.
So easy.
So it was
Sounds
so easy.
easy.
So then we wrote this book over about 3.5 years period, because my children were quite young at that time. And I had when you are the director of a clinic and have your own practice, there's no sabbatical or anything like that. So I was writing this book between the hours of probably 9:30 and 2 in the morning, and then in the morning before my kids would wake up. Yes, some of you may be relating to that. Yes, and so it took 3.5 years to write, but over that time we wrote sections. Jenny and I wrote sections in Brisbane, in Melbourne, in Sydney. This book is a very well-traveled book, mostly in Australia, and we would send chapters back and forth through the email as well. But it was really nice to be able to sit and write together too.
Yeah. Did you agree on each piece of the book, or any behind the skin secrets?
We agreed on almost everything. The one chapter I remember us having conceptual discussions was about shame. And the way I think we see shame in North America is quite different than the way we see shame in at least how I was raised in Europe. And so we kind of had some, it was no arguing. It was just like debating some very healthy intellectual back and forth about shame. And so it was just interesting, because I felt like I grew a lot from her understanding of shame. And when something's, a little bit muddy, and then you have a colleague that you can kind of go back and forth with, it really kind of clarifies your own thinking about it. So that's the only thing I really remember where we, and that's the only dirt I can think of.
Thanks for answering.
What were? In the shame. Yeah, what were our different? So I don't remember it all, but I know for myself, I've always felt there's healthy shame. There is actually a healthy shame, and then there's some, for lack of a better word, less healthy shame, or maladaptive or dysfunctional shame. And I feel that in North America, shame is, people are afraid of acknowledging shame and working with shame more than I think in European countries. At least that's my impression. And so the healthy shame is when you do something out of your integrity, out of your own values, when you hurt somebody, and it's not within your own value system, right? You're acting out of integrity with yourself. I feel that that's a very healthy shame. And as long as you don't get stuck in the pit of shame and you can't ever you don't come out of it, and you think you're a bad person and that you deserve bad things because you hurt your partner, that is the maladaptive shame. But to feel some shame about having done something wrong and hurt somebody, I think is a very healthy shame. So we kind of had to hammer that out a little bit. Yeah, that's the main. I don't know how that congruent that is with European thought, but
It is, I think.
Yes.
I think it's congruent but in therapy we tend to look at shame as a block as well.
That's
so
right.
It doesn't really lead us to.
That's right.
So.
But I don't see it that way, actually. Like, I remember a client of mine expressing that he felt shame that he had hurt his wife, and he she was just asking for some validation from him, and he didn't give it. He was kind of withholding it. And in the session, I was seeing him as an individual. He said that he felt some shame, that he couldn't just give her that validation she was looking for. And then I said, the fact that you feel shame about that tells me what a good person you actually are. Because to feel shame about hurting someone is actually the most natural and normal response when you love someone. And so it wasn't a dead end. It was actually, we de-shamed the shame, depathologized the shame. So the shame was no longer this dirty, terrible feeling. So that was quite interesting. He actually felt elevated by that. Yeah. He didn't get stuck in this pit of, I'm bad.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
If we don't stuck there, we can move on.
Yeah.
So many of you came to this book launch, so maybe you have read the book already, or you are considering. So anyone who might have a question can come up with a question, so I can translate until you think. I have another question. You already mentioned how the book was received, or what were the feedbacks so far, or how do you sense this, or what do you know about it?
I'm very happy with how the book has been received. We had some unexpected bit of feedback in the early days, because the first edition was published in 2015, and then I think the second in English, and then the second one was, I think, in 2022. And one of the pieces of feedback I really enjoyed hearing was that therapists that are new to the EFT model really found it helpful in keeping them on track and on side with the model. And it actually helped them learn the model as well as stay on track with EFT in their client process. So that was lovely. And then another nice piece of feedback was that the exercises build on themselves very slowly in small increments. And so people really enjoyed that they could really do the exercises and not feel like they were opening up a big can of worms that they couldn't then settle down, because the exercises kind of build on each other in these small little baby steps. So that was a lovely piece of feedback. I think the main criticism that we heard of the book was that it was, it was dense. It was hard work to actually do. But I actually don't mind that, because I think that reflects what it takes to really, have lifelong love, is that it is a real commitment, right? Every day to choose that person, to choose how to relate to that person. So I was okay with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for asking.
So any questions? We have Balázs here who did the translation, so maybe you can say just a few words about how was it for you to translate this book.
Yeah, it was a really, really nice experience. And to have contact with Veronica during the process, I really enjoyed thinking together with you about, some translation questions, and it was a really, really nice experience, and I could really feel your, caring attitude. I don't know Jenny, and I was wondering, which part belongs to whom. But overall, it felt like really, like, what's the word for that? Homogeneous? Is that a word? Like, it felt like you really did a good job together to make the book feel like it's a whole. And it was really nice as a professional as well. It was really nice to think about these topics, how I would work with couples in that regard, and with the book after it was published. So and I do use it, and couples really do like it. So it's really good. Experience.
I can confirm that it's actually really easy to read. So it's not just a translation, but it was translated by someone who really understands the model, and I think it's important. And all the specifics of the approach is in the translation. So it's using a language that is in Hungarian that is identical with the EFT approach.
And that's so important, because sometimes if you don't have as good a translation of the book, then a lot gets lost. And I really owe a huge debt of gratitude to you, Balázs, because I would not be sitting here right now if it were not for you. And he is so conscientious, so meticulous. We laughed when we had our Zoom meeting, because I said, Balázs, your English is better than mine in some of these suggestions that he had. I was so impressed with him, and we also just had a fun time going through all your questions about the book. So it was really lovely to connect.
Yeah. Károly?
So I'm having a question. Is this book suitable for pairs who are not in part therapy, independently from the therapy? And I think we have spoken quite a lot about the theories, but I guess there are very practical exercises within the book, and maybe some exercises, if you could say, to invite the people to reading the books, and the expert, the professionals as well.
So I think that's a two-part question. The first part, I think it is suitable for people that want to enhance their relationship and want to dig into a book and do the exercises and take the time to kind of reflect. I think it works that way as a relationship enhancement book as well. And with regard to the kind of any exercises that stand out, the one that seems to really catch people's attention first is the love conversations, and it's right at the very beginning of the book, and it's kind of sets the stage for how the couple will do the exercises, kind of like the mindset that they're going to get into, that this is going to be a softer conversation or more tender conversation. And so the LOVE acronym stands for listening. Oh my goodness, I'm gapping on it. Openness, thank you. Listening with an open heart, validating, and expressing yourself simply, slowly, softly. See, Balázs. Yes, yeah. So kind of setting the context for a soft space, sort of, to go through the exercises together. This love conversation, we call them all love conversations, because whether you're talking about your hurt feelings or the reactive feelings that come up when you maybe get triggered by your partner, we want you to be able to express that to your partner in a soft space. So this love conversation with the listening with an open heart and mind, and validating each other's feelings, and going slowly and softly and simply, seems to set the stage for people to connect as they go through the exercises.
Thank you. And I can see people sitting here with your book in their hands, so I assume that they want to approach you and have your signature in the book. So it's a book signing as well, not just a book launch. So I think it's time for these people to have the opportunity to approach you and also have maybe a short conversation with you, because I think they came to meet you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for coming. And thank you for having me and the opportunity to just share a little bit about this book. And once again, Balázs, thank you for your beautiful translation.
And thank you again
Sylvie,
to come and teach us in the training. And through this book, you reached many, many Hungarian couples. And I can feel your special heart for Hungary. since the very beginning, we get in touch. So thank you for coming and doing this for us, for the Hungarian people here.
Thank you for giving me such a warm welcome, and